Okay, welcome everyone to Healing Conversations. Today we have Manuela Rodriguez-Correa on the topic An Authentic Self-Discovery Journey, which she will guide us through. Let's give it a minute or two to let more people trickle in. We are live on Facebook. Again, Healing Conversations to set the tone is a space that's really inspired by unconditional love and acceptance, self-acceptance, acceptance of everything, and most importantly, as I mentioned, self-acceptance of ourselves. And so the intention here is to feel better, to heal, to become aware. And really, that's the reason we have different guest speakers every week talking on a variety of subjects that are close to their own personal journeys to help us get perspective because there's 8 billion people on this planet with 8 billion different perspectives. And so one of these perspectives may resonate. And so that is the hope today with Manuela, that her perspective and her journey will resonate with one of you guys and that you'll be able to see your circumstances of your life from a different scope. And so a lot of times what happens, and I can only speak from personal experience, is that the way we grew up, the way our parents raised us, society, and the many variables that hinder our expression or help us live our fullest expression really shape how we see the world. And so really we're seeing the world from a very narrow perspective most of the time. And we simply don't know what we don't know. And so when we have different guest speakers, they help us expand our awareness because they have a different perspective. And so with that comes healing. That awareness leads to healing. So it's 11:04, so we'll honor everybody that's here on the call. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody that's live on Facebook as well. Again, the topic of today is an authentic self-discovery journey. But before we get started, I'll lead us in just a short grounding meditation to help us arrive here. I don't know about everyone else, but life happens and distractions happens, and so we get fragmented. We're not really 100% here. A lot of times we're there because of jobs, family, and other things. So I invite everybody to close your eyes. So close your eyes with me and breathe in and hold it. Embrace yourself, hug yourself, and say, I love you. Release the breath. Take another deep breath and hold it. And say, I accept myself. Release the breath. Take another deep breath and hold it. Release the breath and say, I am doing the best I can. Now open your eyes and be here. Let's be present with the topic today. Again, we have Manuela Rodriguez on the topic, An Authentic Self-Discovery Journey. Manuela believes that we come to this earth to evolve and develop ourselves in a unique way. We come up with a pre-designed plan that we forget as we start being conditioned by society. One thing that Manuela has learned in her journey is to deeply listen to herself, which has been a guide to her truest expression. A little bit about Manuela. She's a facilitator, a Reiki energy master, and an energy channeler. She is originally from Colombia, but currently lives in Berlin, Germany. She speaks 5 different languages and has lived in 5 different countries, working with corporations, nonprofits, and social businesses across Latin America, the US, Western Europe, and Sub-Saharan Africa. True world traveler. She has learned to connect with energies to heal herself and is able to translate energy into information that makes it easy for people like us to be able to see what's going on here, right? To be able to decipher what is it that we're feeling and experiencing. Her purpose is to design experiential learning spaces to support organizations, teams, and individuals to bring about change. She wants to contribute to the integration of masculine and feminine principles to bring balance on how teams and leaders operate, as well as integrate the Hermetic universal laws to embrace our human nature, to live to our fullest human potential, and embrace really what it means to be human. She wants to demystify energy. There's a lot of talk about energy, right? Like, what is energy? And so that's exactly what she's going to be guiding us, our discussion today on energy and how listening to that can be our guide to our truest expression. So, welcome, Manuela. You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Noe. Thank you for having me here today. And hello to everyone that's here with us in the call and watching us from Facebook. This is my first time doing a conversation like this and openly speaking about many of the things that I've been doing in my own personal development. So I'm very happy to share some of that and maybe sparking something in you in your own journey. As I said, to me, the word authenticity and the authentic self has been very present in the past couple of years. And it's a very big word that many of us use, but what does it really mean to be authentic? And at the end of the day, to me, what I have learned is that being authentic is basically getting to know yourself. Who are you? To answer the question, who am I? And I believe all of us at the end of the day also are energy. We're made out of energy, and we cannot fully get to know ourselves if we don't understand our energetic nature. And I am 36 years old, and I can talk about this now, but my journey started actually 18 years ago. And I feel called to maybe talk to you a little bit of how I came to now be so confident to talk about energy and work with energy and use energy not only for myself but to support other people. And as Noe said, I'm from Colombia, but when I was 18, I moved out of home because I went to study to a different city. And somehow the moment that I left home, like a big world opened to me, and I started seeing things in a way that I hadn't seen before. It's like I was in my little cave or in my little bubble, and it burst when I moved, and I went to a big city to study, and all of my insecurities, all of my anxieties, my depression started to be present, and I started like looking for questions. So I think like one of the key things to actually be able to discover your authentic self is to be inquisitive, to be curious, to ask questions as many as you can. So we need to be able to open new avenues of learning and understanding ourselves. So I started asking questions like, why am I feeling like I'm feeling? Why is this people around me having more than I have? Or why is it easier for them to just live their lives? I thought that at the moment. And it is in my nature now. I know that I always was looking for more unconventional ways. It also comes from home. Like my mom was also very a true believer of non-conventional practices from homeopathy and yoga and stuff like that. So I started looking answers on that side of the spectrum, and then I started understanding a lot of what my family dynamic was. How my whole family that dynamic had influenced me and why I had certain patterns and behaviors. And I very, very fast started learning about astrology. And somehow in my mind, the stars and how the planets move made sense. Like understanding my personality, understanding my identity through the planets and the different signs, it clicked something in my head. I have a very rational mind, but still like the story about how the stars speak to you and how the planets and depending on how they are in your chart, they can give you information. I feel like what we're doing as we try to connect with our authentic self is looking for information, looking for the fragments, because I believe that we came here to integrate ourselves, and our through our authentic self the journey to learn to find our true authentic self is integrating the different fragments. So I started looking for those fragments. It was very unconscious at the time. I feel like my soul was already guiding me. I was just like doing things to find answers. I wasn't really conscious about what I was doing as I am today. And then after continuing to explore astrology and learning more about how the stars could speak about who I am and why I am where, because astrology can also speak about our egos, not only about our soul. It's like this distinction between our soul plan and our egos. So if you haven't tried astrology, maybe if you're out of curiosity, you want to try to have a birth chart reading. That's a one framework to get information about yourself. And then later on, I encounter family constellations. So I feel like that was kind of like my actually first experience sensing energy, because the stars are energy, but as more like translating it into words in a logical way. But I actually experienced and started sensing energy when I started doing family constellations. And at this time, I was in college, and I felt like I started to live in like a double life where I was going to college and I was throwing the traditional things, like working super hard to get my degree, but very in my own world, separate from my social life. I was experimenting with these techniques, trying to find answers to know why every time I came home after a week, all that I wanted to do on my weekend was staying home and being by myself, and I was feeling depressed, or I was partying, but like that type of meaningless party that you might do when you're in college. And when I saw family constellations at play and seeing how people were starting to embody feelings and embody sensations, and they would speak to me as if they were representing a member of my family or something like that, or a different character in my family system, I never questioned it. Somehow it felt so natural to me. It's like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And so much of my own ancestral healing started there, because I not only was doing healing regarding my core family, but I started seeing and understanding things from generations before. Um, and then somehow I felt like I was like untying knots that were in between me and connecting with my true self. So I continue exploring this family constellations, and then another thing that I experiment with energy was to touch. So I am very connected with my body, and one key thing for me in my journey to connect with myself and to learn the language of my soul, because this is another thing. For us to really know our authentic self is like, and I ask you now, do you know what is the language of your soul? Do you know how your soul speaks to you? Because I feel there are different ways, and not for each of us is the same. And I realized that my soul spoke to me. One of the ways, because she speaks to me in different ways, was through my body. So I need touch usually from people that are trained in massage, but the type of massage of people that are healers, that they connect also with energy through the massage. They understand the components of the body from a higher perspective, not only of the typical massage that you might get at spa, but actually learning the deep knowing and the deep wisdom that the body carries. So I encountered someone, I met someone in my life that she helped me a lot to learn about myself, when she started touching me and restructuring my spinal cord, and touching my, especially the back. Like our back has so much weight and it has so much that is tied, that can be released. And people that know how to connect with the knowledge of the body can also start speaking to us about, like, depending on the part of the body, what can be present for us in terms of blockages, or like trauma that is stored in our bodies. So that was yet another way for me to connect with energy. I didn't know it was energy. It's like, as I said, like I just would go to these places and meet with these people, and they would just do things with me energetically from different places. And to me, it was clicking something in me that was like, oh, I understand it. Oh, I understand it. So it's like slowly I started to integrate that way of understanding the world. And on the other hand, I was still doing very rational work. I was going through college. I studied economics, which is a very heavy, logical, mathematic based studies. And then I went into work in the corporate world, which required for me to be super strong and very assertive and like use a lot of my, again, of my left brain. Our left brain is the one that strategizes and is super logical. Then later on, and I can speak more to that afterwards, I came to understand that that's our masculine principle. And on the other hand, I saw that my soul or my intuitive self, I didn't know it was my soul at the time. I just intuitively would go to places to discover this other side of me that was coming more from my right brain, which is the one that actually led me to understand this intuitive knowledge of the unseen world. Like, how come suddenly I was understanding that because of Mars or Venus or the other planets were in this part of my birth chart, then I was tendencies to be like this. It's like, oh yeah, that also makes sense to me. And then I would go into a family constellation and I would allow the energy in the room to play out for me to understand why my relationship with men was in a certain way. And like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And then same with my body. So it was like I was always balancing these two ways of learning about the world. But of course, like we lived in this society with we get paid by using our left brain, by using our logic and our rational mind. So now, like, if we understand it like rational left brain, masculine energy, intuitive, unseen, immaterial type of knowing, left brain, right brain, which is in more the sensing. I would ask you how much, if you put this into balance, how much are you aware of how you integrate information from these two different sources, because it's sources of information that we capture, and how much value do we give to them. Many practitioners, many of us, that we can channel energy, that we can channel information, and nowadays we can speak about it more openly. We receive a lot of information that's very logical also. It has its own way of being scientifical, but because it's not written, because it's not evidence-based, because it's not like there's not a research study behind it, it gets devalued, and it gets it's not validated. And but it's like these two worlds basically complement each other. And so basically what I'm trying to say is that my own authentic journey has been a journey of understanding how these two ways of knowing operate, and that I am in a position now to understand that we can only be authentic, we can only connect with our true essence if we integrate, or we learn how to connect with the different parts that we are. This not only being the left and the right side, masculine and feminine, but this also means with all of our bodies. I learned later on that we have 4 bodies. It might sound pretty logical, but I don't think that many of us stop to really think about them, which are the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the energetic. And each one of these bodies also carry information about us. So how do you nurture your physical body? How do you take care of your mental body, which is the one that usually put us in more trouble, or like demands more energy, because we live in a very mental world? How much do you take care of your emotions? And how much do you really understand how your energy works? I feel like in this current society, patriarchal, masculine-based society, we have exacerbated the use of our minds. Our physical bodies have been used for the benefit of the mind, and then the emotion and the energetic body have completely left behind. We have neglected that we have these two bodies, and we don't know how to connect with them, how to make sense of what they tell us, the information that they bring us through the sensations and through the energy that moves us emotions in our bodies. And now I am a Reiki healer. I'm a master in Reiki, and I also learn about more and more about the chakras. So in 2015, after working for a while in Colombia, one of my intuitive needs, even though I was doing a lot of these things, I still fell into a depression because I felt unfulfilled in my country. I felt that I couldn't truly be there. The environment and the societal norms there were asphyxiating me. So I said the intention that I wanted to live abroad. I wanted to leave my country. And then I started learning about manifestation. I didn't know how that worked. I was just setting intentions and things started to happen. And I always thought that I was going to go out of the country because I was going to study. Like most of my friends were leaving the country because they were going to do their graduate programs and stuff like that. But then something very magical happened, and they offered me a relocation with my job, something that I have never done before in the region. It was the first time that my firm where I was working was doing something like that. And my soul was taking me to Chile. And then I realized it was not the first time that she tried to bring me to Chile. Because before I left college, I had a job offer or an opportunity to get a job in Chile. And I said no, because at the moment I was not ready to leave. And then again, the opportunity presented itself. And then this is when I realized, of course, later on, that this is how our true self also guide us. It put things in front of us that we can only really take if we're present and then we're paying attention. And it happens in the weirdest ways. So I got a really strong gut feeling that I needed to go there, even though like my mind was like putting a lot of resistance, like what am I gonna go to do there? I don't even know this is the job that I want to do. But it turns out that I needed to go to Chile to start my awakening. I met my mentor in Chile. As soon as I arrived to Santiago, I had this need to start looking for some of these practices. I needed to find someone to work with my body. I needed to find someone to help me understand the depression that I was in. And it was so super fast. Someone at my work would also work with energies. She was very spiritual. And it was like in a matter of a month, I had already found someone that was helping me connect back with uh, with energies. But at the time, I was just like, I want someone to help me understand myself. And then I had the first experience with Reiki, and it was so healing. And I started I'm like my third eye opened in ways that I have never experienced before. And I started connecting with the unseen world, and I started going to different places and dimensions, and I started recognizing colors and shapes and different qualities of the energy. So I during the 3 years I was in Chile, I studied with my mentor, and she taught me about the chakras. So then I understood, like, okay, this is our body. This is what we all should learn as much as we go to school and we learn anatomy and we learn that we have lungs, that we have like a heart, that we have gut, we have a pancreas, so on and so forth. We all need to know that we have 7 chakras. I mean, we actually have 12, but the ones that are actually in our bodies, physical body, are 7. And each one of them carries information, and each one of them carries a different dimension or a different level of information of who we are as human beings. And it carries not only the information of this life, but they carry also information from our past lives. And I started experimenting with that, and once again, it's like I feel like if I would have tried to get this information through doing therapy, I don't know how many years it would have taken me to unveil all of the information that I started to receive. And then Sorry, I need to just drink a little bit of water. If you have questions, I'm just going with the flow. I told Noe I was just going with the flow with what the energy of the room was inspired me to express. But if you have questions or comments, please do let me know.
Yeah, at any point, if anybody has any questions, just simply raise your hand and we're keeping an eye on that. Thank you, Manuela.
Yeah, of course. So I'm doing like this recap of my life, and at the same time, as I recap my life, how I connected with energy, I'm doing reflections of the things that I found on the way that we don't know as human beings of our true nature, and how much do we really need to in our healing journeys, the ones that are interested, because not everybody is interested in doing the work because it's hard work, that we can tap into, and we can be curious about this and go further to understand ourselves. And so after the 3 years I was in Chile training with of course, again, I was always also keeping these two worlds separate as I was doing all of this energy work, doing the Reiki work, learning how to do transcendental meditations and connect with different realms. I was in my corporate job. The work that I used to do, I would do leadership development and executive recruitment for corporates. So at the time, I was like 25, 26, and I was already sitting with board members, and I was interviewing C-level executives under leadership development and doing assessments to decide who to recruit for different executive positions. So I was already also learning to understand the organizational world in a very deep way. Because when you do executive recruitment and you interview people that are at the top level of these corporations, you learn a lot about the strategies of businesses and how decisions are made. And then there's like, okay, I study economics, and then this is how capitalism work in organizations. And on the other hand, on the other side is like my other self, my right brain is like, okay, but I need to really connect with something that is more than this. This needs to be something more than this. And then I decided that I needed to start thinking about leaving that company. Something else was calling me. Like I started facilitating workshops, and I love facilitation. Like somehow it's like it clicked. It just clicked. I mean, I've never done it before, but suddenly I was given the opportunity to start doing workshops to teams, and I understood how I would suddenly, I just knew how to do it. And now I know that I was so sensitive that I knew how to manage the energy of the room. Of course, I'm good with communication and other like skills of like that I trained in my previous job, but it's like, okay, if someone is being pushy, if someone is being uh, resistance to the information I'm delivering, if someone needs to understand something better, it's like I was there. I could adapt. I could really respond to the needs of the room. And of course, I didn't know at the time that it was because of the energetic sensibility that I had. So as soon as I started thinking that I wanted to leave Chile, I got a call from one of my former bosses that was managing the office in Mexico. So this is what my soul once again guiding me to offer me a job in Mexico, and again I felt like I needed to go there. I don't know why. Like at the beginning, I thought I was just gonna resign and I was gonna go to travel or figure out my life. But then it's like, okay, this is like so perfect. Like at the moment that I said that I wanted to leave Chile, this guy comes in and offers me to go to Mexico for a year because I also wanted to do my master's. And so I went. I went to Mexico. I went up to Mexico for a year with the same company, and it was also a very amazing experience because the culture there it's incredible for all of you that might have been visiting Mexico or from Mexico. It's a beautiful country, and then now I know that I went to Mexico to reconnect with my shamanic essence because I started doing temazcal. Um, for those of you that don't know what temazcal is, it's like this very hot hut made of stones that indigenous communities use to go inside, and that is super, super hot and it's dark and you go inside and you have your own journeys just based on the heat and your breath. And then, sorry, I'm just looking at some questions in the chat. Thank you, Glow. I will learn more about I will share with you about the Reiki for sure. And yeah, so basically more of the corporate world, more of the same old story, a lot of the macho culture. I was a young professional woman sitting in meetings with old dudes with a lot of power of decision making, telling them what to do in terms of hiring or development, and I basically got tired of that, and I finally decided to quit my job and went to the U.S. to do my master's degree. And when I went to Mexico and then to the US, I spent some time without my mentor guiding me. And then I realized I had the power to do my own meditations. I had the power to start connecting. My connection got so strong that I also started listening to my guides. I started listening to different qualities of voices in my system, and that were speaking to me, that were telling me messages, that were explaining things to me. And there was a part of me that it was like, yeah, of course. And there was another part of me like, you're going crazy. Like, what? I don't understand what's all of this. And I started to keep record and started writing the things that were coming to me in terms of downloads and different sensations and new visions that I had. And then it was later in 2021 when I finished my master's that I came back to. I started to do my first level of Reiki. So for those of you that don't know what Reiki is a healing methodology that was downloaded by someone that's called Mikao Usui. He was a Japanese, I think he was a monk, and he basically downloaded the whole energy connection. It's a source of universal energy that you can tap into when you're initiated. And what Reiki energy does is that it opens all your channel. So as I said, we have 7 chakras, and the 7 chakras are what make up our channel. We all have this channel that is like a strong column that goes through our column, the spinal cord, to channel energy. And most of us human, if we haven't done the work, we have all of that close. Like the energy flow in our bodies and the energy flow in our energetic centers don't flow because we don't know how to work with energy. So because our energy don't flow, our emotions are stuck, and we start getting sick, and we have all of the different somatic expressions of having energy stuck in our bodies. So when I got trained in Reiki, I learned a lot more about the chakras and how keeping our channel open and energy flowing is the most important thing that you can do to connect with your intuition, to listen to your soul, to listen to what your true self is speaking to you. And when you get initiated in Reiki, your channel opens more. So not only you clear it out, but it's like our channels can be, let's say, might have like a diameter like this. But when you get initiated in Reiki, it starts growing. So with the first level, you have it more open, with the second level more, and when you become a master, like I am, it's like your channel could be like your whole head like that. So you have the ability to channel, to receive more energy, not only for yourself, but to transmit to others. And of course, as soon as you get initiated in Reiki, you start getting more connection, and you start getting more sensations, a lot more sensitive. And I was already quite sensitive because I had awakened my energetic body through my meditations and with my mentor. But as soon as I started doing Reiki to other people, it's like I started reading information. I started receiving information from their own energetic system. And also, the more that I practiced, I understood that not only I was reading that information, but my guides were helping me. So my guides were also present with me, and they were telling me other things that they wanted me to transmit to the person that I was giving the energy to. And one of the things that's important to know is that Reiki is like when you go, for example, to the gym and you work out and you feel amazing, but if you stop going to the gym for 2 weeks and then you go again, it's like, oh, it's all over again. And same happens with your energy. So you might go to a Reiki session and someone opens the channel for you or does a cleansing and builds information for you and gets energy flowing. But if you don't keep doing the work, either because you learn how to do Reiki for yourself or you have other practices on how to work with energy, the channel will go close again, or the energetic centers will go close, or will go dirty with their information, with dirty energies. And when I say dirty, it's like low vibrational, because we all are exposed to low vibrations in our current society. And now it's like energy became my language. Now I understand energy from everything through energy, because even our physical bodies is made out of energy. So basically we have these four bodies that I mentioned, and the energetic body is the one that is the less dense, and the physical body is the denser. That's why we can touch it, we can feel it, we can see it. But the other bodies are like less dense, but they are with us and they're interconnected and they're communicating constantly. Like what happens in one body is reflected in the rest of the bodies. I'm gonna stop now to see if there's any other question or comments.
Anybody have any reflections, any thoughts, any questions for Manuela? This is the perfect time to ask away. She's covered so much. Maybe you're dealing with something. Maybe you have a block. You have an intention to embrace your highest expression. You're trying to reach a goal, a dream, and you don't know what's going on. This would be a great time to ask. And maybe she can give you some guidance on how to connect to your intuitive side to see. Mark, did you have a question?
Yeah, and I wanted to say, when you were talking about your chakras, when God said we're made in His image, that's the part that He's talking about. And when we can access those things, it's very powerful stuff. It opened us up to a whole new reality, really. And I just wanted to thank her for speaking about that, because that stuff is very important. It's a beautiful light that sometimes we cover up, and we have problems. We have major problems. And I know this for a fact because all those problems manifested in my life and almost took my life. So yes, those are very important things. Thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you. Thank you for the comment. And I would go back to what I was saying a while back regarding the different ways of knowing, the different ways of understanding information. And in the current world that we live, as I said, like what's most valued is the logical and the scientifical base in the traditional method, the scientific method, and all of what we read in the Western world. And you look at medicine right now, and it's very narrow in what it covers in terms of how really our whole human system operates. But then if you go to the Eastern world and more traditional ancient wisdom, that was obvious. That was how communities and people would used to operate in terms to keep their well-being and to connect with their hearts and to connect with their self. But somehow there's such a big arrogance in how information is managed and how information is manipulated, that people don't get access to this. And when they get some access, they question it because it's not scientifically proved. But why do you need it to be scientifically proof if you can just feel it? You connect with it. You have firsthand experience. Do you need more proof than that? So now in the journey that I'm at, which is not an easy journey, is trying to bridge this left brain with the right brain. This because I've been in the journey of having my life split. I've been having the life of the working woman in the corporate world or in the organizational world, doing logical, rational things. And that's my masculine energy. And on the other hand, I was being guided by my intuition to awaken my psychic abilities and awaken my ability to connect with the unseen and the energy. And I've came to a point in my life when I don't want to have them separate anymore. I need to integrate these two parts of myself, my feminine with my masculine. And thankfully, the world is changing. So that's also enabling that more people are awakening and that the opportunity to speak about these things in more mainstream businesses, it's not fully there, but it's becoming more and more present because there's a lot more people like I am, like me, that want to bridge these two worlds. And what I would love to do, which is like my manifestation intentions right now, is to be able to work with people that want to also awaken, because most of us don't have the feminine awakened, or we have it there, but it's kind of like in its infant or more wounded version of it. And being able to bridge these two worlds, because there's so much potentiality when we connect with energy. There's so much that we can do when we connect with energy, because our human minds are very, very limited. We think that we know it all, that we can control it all, but it's so limited. And like I have experienced some of you too, group meditations, and not the type of group meditations where we'll all sit just to connect, but the type of group meditations where we all go to the astral world and we work together there, where everybody's connected with their astral. When I say astral, is their energetic body, and we're working together. And it's like, can you imagine if we would be able to build businesses where people can connect their energetic bodies and create amazing things out of it? So yeah, that's the very wishful thinking journey that I'm at. I don't know where it's gonna land me. But for now, at least at the individual level, I see more people wanted to invest in their leadership development to connect with the full expression of themselves. And as I said before, when we talk about authenticity, a lot of the conversation around authenticity is like, yeah, you be whoever you want to be, you own your own story, you own your narrative. Yes. But can you do that if you don't understand the full operating system that your human body is, that your human technology is, and the information that it brings you?
Can you speak a little bit more about that? What's one thing maybe that you can, well, one practical thing that everybody here on the call can do to really tune in on their own personal journey of authenticity? Like, what can, one small practice that has helped you to make that critical jump from living in that corporate world, using your left side of your brain to connecting to your intuitive self, really like merging your full expression?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that question. I think like one of the things that I would do, I have been doing more intentionally and I keep doing, is to learning the language of my brain, my ego, and learning the language of my heart. So I would invite you, if you don't have a meditation practice yet, I would invite you to find one. There's like million ways to meditate, which is basically learning to quiet the mind, or learning to understand the different qualities of your inner voices. And one thing that I would do a lot was like sitting in silence and putting my hands in my heart. What does my heart want? Because what your heart wants is what your true essence is asking you to express. And then I've seen like, okay, I know what my heart wants, but then I see the resistances. What are the resistances of your ego? So, for example, I know that my heart wants to go back to singing on a stage. Yeah, but that's not gonna give. And then my mind started, oh, that's not gonna give me money. What am I gonna do that for? And everybody's gonna, I mean, like, I haven't saying like in 15 years, why am I gonna go back doing that? Okay, and what if you just try going to one class? Just do it. What do you have to lose? Because if you keep dismissing that voice, you're just gonna keep repeating the same patterns. You're not gonna be able to open new spaces of what you are or who you are, and that needs to be done from a place of discomfort. And of course, you're gonna tap into the unknown, and it can start with little things like that one, like, oh, maybe my heart wants me to go back to practice a hobby that I used to do when I was in high school. What? Okay, that's not that harmful. Maybe I can try and give it some space. But then maybe your heart is telling you this person's not right for you. Or maybe that heart is telling you, I need to travel. Or maybe the heart is telling you, I need to quit my job. And it's going to come to very life-changing decisions the more that you give it space for that to happen. But living an authentic life means challenging the paradigms of the system. If you are uncomfortable in the system and you feel that you cannot fully express yourself, that means that you need to break patterns, and you need to allow yourself to be in ways that you've never been before, but probably are the most you in your uniqueness. And at the same time, trusting in yourself in such a way that everything around you is telling you something different, and you're still gonna go and do it your way. And I think that that's the challenge that I'm at right now. I mean, I've been in it for a couple of years, of course, but the more that we work on ourselves, the more that we go through this path of consciousness, I think some of the challenges get more intense sometimes. And the deeper we are being invited to trust in ourselves. So the stronger that you put that connection with your heart, the stronger that you have that connection with your intuition, with your soul, the more you're going to have the ability to go against the current, to go against the mainstream.
Thank you, Manuela, for sharing. I can only speak from my own personal experience, and I concur with Manuela that for me, the number one biggest step that I took in my awakening was taking up a practice of meditation. For me, literally within the first week, everything slowed down. Like I started noticing life from a different perspective, from this slower pace. And what I realized is that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was operating from a state of my nervous system was constantly activated in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? Like in this, better watch out, which was what Manila is speaking to, that comfort zone. Our mind wants to keep us safe. And so the only way it knows is to cut off anything new, even if it's for our benefit, which for me was meditation, slowing down, and looking like from a not activated fear response space, from a heart centered space. And so I feel like for me, meditation was the first step of unbecoming this previous version that I was. And it's not overnight magic, right? This is a process that is ever unfolding for the rest of our existence here on Earth, right? Um, it's not a magic pill, but it does help. And so I appreciate you, Manuela, sharing so much with us, and such a valuable thing that we can all take up. Just like even like the small, maybe it's not even a meditation. You said, place your hands on your heart, just ask, what does my heart want? And then notice the mind talk. And then be aware of that the mind just wants to keep you safe from dangers that don't exist. It wants to keep you in the status quo. But learning to be aware of that and say, wait a second, maybe I can just do one little small thing that I'm following my heart, my most truest expression. And by doing that, just the small little degree of change per day can lead to a different experience of life. And embracing like, who is it that's really under there, under all the layers, all that conditioning, right? And I think that's why we're all here today. We all want to be our most happiest, most joyful, most peaceful expression. which we all have it underneath the many layers. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have about 8 minutes remaining. Um, Celine, did you have a question? It looks like maybe in the chat. Did you want to ask something?
I think Celine dropped off.
Oh, she did. Oh, okay. Okay. Does anybody else
Mark?
here have any other comments, expressions, questions?
Go for it, Mark.
Why don't you go ahead? I already went once. I'll go after you.
Oh, I'm all good. Mark, you can go.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to add that part of our self-care, I mean, our self-care is our responsibility. No one's coming knocking at our door and saying, hey, did you eat right? Did you drink water? Did you meditate? Did you exercise? Whatever it be. And that's our responsibility. But when we don't make self-care a priority, we land up in all kinds of problems. But the biggest problem is that, we tell everybody, I love you. We tell our family, our friends, I love God, I love Jesus. But do we love ourselves fully and completely? Because if we don't, whatever version of love we're giving everybody else, it's some watered down Kool-Aid version. And until we do that, like, how could we say we love God if we don't love ourselves? Because God's put part of him in us. So it goes hand in hand, right? So it's important to love yourself, forgive yourself, and recognize self. Like with me, I beat up my body so bad that required me to go through all kinds of medical stuff. And sometimes I have to tell myself, like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. I'm sorry I didn't take care of you. I'm sorry I abused you. And then move intentionally to show ourselves, our bodies, that we're doing things differently now. And the body will always respond like that. Our minds and bodies are so amazing. Like the way God designed us, it's so amazing.
Thank you, Mark.
San, yeah, thank you. Thank you, San. Just ask something.
Oh, sorry, Manuela.
No, sorry. Oh. Susan, would it be okay if I answer this question out loud? She just sent me a direct message about my Reiki.
Yes, you can.
Okay, she thought give me the Reiki practice, because one of the amazing things working with Reiki is that because energy travels, like we can do Reiki at a distance, so we don't need to be in person. So and part of the Reiki practice is using symbols. So there are symbols that represent, that can activate certain parts of your energetic system, and we use symbols to help people unblock certain things. And so basically, Susan, your question is like, if I use use the symbols for each person at a time. So there's like what the method that I learned is that there's one symbol that helps me open a portal. So that's the symbol that I use to open the portal, so I can send the energy. And then the other symbols that I put on the person to help them based on their situation, they come to me. So usually the typical one is the Chokurei and Seiheki. I don't know if you use the same language, which are the let's say the ones that everybody could use. And then there are some more advanced ones that they cannot all be put at once. It depends on each case and what that person requires. But I would say Chokurei and Seiheki, you can put them to all of your clients. I don't know if this answers your questions.
I would add that I did a Reiki session with Manu. She's in Germany. I'm in California, and it was phenomenal. Literally that day, first of all, I had set intentions about a week prior. I was just intuiting in my body. We're talking about intuition. the right side of our cells, our expressions, right? And I was like, wait a second, I got emotions that I haven't processed. And I would probably say, and it feels like to me that everybody here on this call, no exceptions, has something stuck in their body, some sort of emotion that has not fully been processed. Well, anyway, she opened me up, and then all of a sudden she pulled a card that said the rain's gonna come. I'm like, the rain? And then later on in the day, just periodically for the next 24 hours, I was like, little tears would come on. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Then I'd be like, then the thought associated with that, the emotion would be like different things. Like, oh shoot, like I didn't even know that that was still there. So Reiki is powerful. We are made up of energetic bodies. I mean, there's so many ways to perceive what reality is, but I can say that I experienced a release of emotions that followed my Reiki session with Manuela. And if anybody here, I would highly recommend looking into it. So beneficial. So, anyways, we
Yes.
have about 2 more minutes left. Any last expressions? Any last thoughts, Manuela?
No, thank you to you, Noe, for inviting me, for giving me the space to share, and thank you for staying here and listening. I was just like very going in the flow and seeing what wanted to be expressed, and also I invite you to start more and more. There's always more to discover about ourselves, but start more and more identifying the qualities of our rational mind versus our intuitive selves. We're all naturally intuitive, and we do things for the sake of doing them, just because we feel like we need to do them. And the more space that we give to our intuition, the more we learn about our true essence and our soul and our hearts, and how can we give them a space in a very rational, very ego-oriented life. But to let you know that you are intuitives. We are all intuitives.
Great advice. So let's start listening to what we're feeling instead of going with the status quo, like suck it up, buttercup. I know that's how I grew up, right? Children should be seen, not heard. And so we go with that type of mentality into our adulthood, right? We have all those traumas that we're in these adult bodies, but really there's children in there, right? That are that's how those become our perceptual filters of how we experience life. So thank you for those reminders. I would like to close the call with just like a quick little check-in. The intention again here is healing. So let's close our eyes. I invite everybody to close your eyes. There's no have to's here, but if you're inclined to, let's close our eyes and let's take a deep breath and hold it. And as we're breathing in that breath, breathe in suffering, our suffering, the suffering of everyone on the call, and release the breath and release that suffering. Now take another deep breath and hold it and breathe in loving kindness, not just for yourself, but for everyone in this call. And release the breath. Now open your eyes. And with that, we're complete with this call. I hope
Thank you,
that you
everyone.
all. Thank you, Manuela.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone here. Appreciate you
Bye-bye.
guys. Oh, Manuela, so before we go, if
Yes.
anybody needs to reach you and they want to get in contact with you, how can they do that?
Yes, definitely. You can follow me. This is my new business, but this is where I'm trying to integrate everything at Twisted Connection. You can follow me in. Oh, I just sent it only to Susan. Sorry, just give me a second. At Twisted Connection, you will find information on both energy and business, but you can find what I'm doing, or if you can reach me directly, and this is my email. Happy to have a chat with any of you if you're interested.
Thank you again, Manuela, for helping us tune into our true expressions and how we can do that. And by really listening, how are we feeling and sensing? So I would encourage everyone to take some time out of your days. I really like Mark's expression about self-care. Really, that's what we're talking about here. Can we buy out some time every day to invest in ourselves? I know personally when I don't do it, I feel like crap. And when I do it, it's like night and day. I feel inspired, I feel uplifted. And so I hope that everybody has left feeling a little bit better, than we started our day. I know I do. Like whenever I host these calls, it uplifts me just being here. So I hope it did something like that for you guys as well. Appreciate you guys. Till next time.
Thank you, Noe. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.